The wind howled across the empty plains, carrying the smell of dust, horses, and distant rain. The sun was dying over the horizon, turning the sky into a blaze of orange and gold. A lone rider appeared through the haze, a woman in a torn blue dress, her bonnet missing, her hands blistered from the reins. She looked exhausted, half-starved, but there was fire in her eyes, the kind that only comes from someone who's lost too much to quit. Her horse stumbled, nearly going down, and she whispered softly, "Just a little farther, boy. Just a little farther." At the edge of the valley stood a small ranch, weathered barn, a few horses tied out front, smoke curling lazily from the chimney. The woman dismounted, her knees weak, and walked up to the porch where a tall man stood, arms crossed, watching her. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, his jaw covered in dark stubble, eyes like storm clouds that had seen too many battles. He didn't speak at first, just studied her, measuring the story behind her tired face. "You lost?" he finally asked, voice low and steady. She swallowed hard. "My name's Clara," she said softly. "My wagon was ambushed. Bandits took everything. I walked for miles. Her voice cracked. "I just need somewhere to rest. Just for the night." The man looked past her, saw the trail of dust, the dying light, the way her shoulders shook though she tried to hide it. He nodded toward the barn. "You can rest inside," he said. "Ain't much, but it's dry." She hesitated. "You live out here alone?" He gave a small, humorless smile. "Alone's quieter." Clara followed him inside. The barn smelled of hay and horse leather. Lantern light flickered. Off the tools hanging neatly on the wall, every inch of the place spoke of hard work and solitude. He spread a thick blanket over a pile of hay and turned away, giving her space. "Thank you," she whispered. "I can pay you when I—" "Don't worry about it," he interrupted, voice rough. "You look like you've been through hell. Rest comes free tonight." For a long moment, neither spoke. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. She stared at the blanket, her fingers trembling slightly. Where should I sleep?" she asked quietly, her voice almost lost in the sound of the rain beginning to fall. He turned back toward her then, eyes softer than before. Slowly, he knelt beside the blanket, pulling it back just a little. "Right here," he said. "It ain't much, but it's warm." Something in his tone, steady, gentle, unguarded, made her chest ache. He wasn't offering comfort the way a stranger might. He was offering safety, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Clara sank to her knees, exhaustion finally overtaking her. He handed her a tin cup of water, then stood up and walked toward the doorway, his silhouette framed against the rain. "You'll be safe here," he said. "I'll keep watch." As the night deepened, the sound of rain on the roof lulled her into half-sleep. She could hear the soft shuffle of his boots outside, the distant crackle of thunder, and her heart eased for the first time in days. She didn't know his name yet, didn't know his story, but something told her this ranch, this quiet man with eyes full of storms, was about to change everything. And though she couldn't see it then, that night, with one blanket, one whisper, and one act of kindness, would begin a love story the Wild West would never forget. The first light of dawn spilled through the cracks in the barn wall, painting stripes of gold across Clara's face. She woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of boots on wooden planks. For a moment she forgot where she was, and until she saw him, standing by the door, sunlight tracing the edge of his shoulders. He turned when he heard her stir, holding out a tin cup. "Mornin'," he said quietly. "Coffee's hot." She took it, her hands brushing his for just a heartbeat, enough to make them both pause. Outside, the world looked new again. The storm had passed, leaving the plains fresh and alive. But inside the barn, the air was heavy with things unspoken. He told her his name was Caleb, a rancher who'd lost his wife and child years back to fever. Since then, he'd chosen silence and work over people. She listened without a word, her eyes soft, understanding more than he said. When he asked about her, she told him she had no one left. Her family gone, her wagon burned, her faith scattered like ashes. For a while they just sat there sharing coffee in silence. Caleb noticed the way the light caught in her hair, the strength in her voice even when she spoke of loss. Something in him stirred, something he thought long dead. Hope. As the day grew, she helped him with chores, mending fences, brushing horses, laughing softly when a colt nuzzled her hand. It had been years since laughter had lived here, and now it sounded like music. Caleb watched her move, the sun catching the blue of her dress. and felt the walls around his heart start to crumble. But when the sky turned red that evening, Clara came to him with a look that broke him. "I can't stay," she said. "If those men come looking, I'll bring trouble to your door." Caleb froze, his jaw tightening. He wanted to tell her to stay, to fight the ghosts of both their past together. But the words stuck. Finally, he just nodded. "I'll saddle your horse," he whispered. When she came out, he stood by the barn, hands trembling as he held the reins. "You'll find a town north of here," he said. "Decent folk. Safe place." She looked at him for a long time, then said softly, "You gave me more kindness than I ever deserved." She climbed onto her horse, but before turning away she asked, "Caleb, where would I have slept if I'd stayed?" His eyes lifted slowly, full of everything he couldn't say. Then, just like that first night, he reached down and pulled back the same blanket, the faintest smile on his lips. "Right here," he said. The wind carried her tears away as she rode off, the sound of hooves fading into the horizon. Caleb stood there till she vanished, then went back to the barn, where the blanket still held the shape of where she'd slept. Days later, a letter arrived at the ranch, smudged ink, her handwriting trembling but clear. "If home ever finds me again, I hope it looks like your porch." He read it under the same sunset where she first arrived, whispering to the wind, "It already does." And out there, under the wide Wild West sky, a quiet cowboy waited, because love, once found, never really leaves. It just waits for the sound of returning hoofbeats.